Hey, what's up people, how are you? In this video we're going to talk about the provider package once again. I already have a video on provider. If you haven't watched it, that's where you should start with, and it's not a very long video, so I guess I would strongly suggest you to start over there. And if you're gonna stick over here, then so when we look at the documentation, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And when we look at the very first line, it says something like a change notifier that builds and synchronizes a change notifier with external values. Well, I won't be focusing a lot on the UI part in this particular app, and in fact I've got the major portion of the UI already built. Let me just brief you about what I have. So in my main.dart file I have a myapp class, and this myapp class I have a material app which has got two roots, one for this particular page which I call as catalog, and another is this one which I call as my cart. And my app begins on like the initial root is the catalog page, and this catalog page has been defined over here. So it has got a scaffold. The scaffold has got a app bar has got, let's give it a title. So title is gonna be a text, and text is gonna be catalog. Perfect. And also it has got a navigation icon for navigation, and whenever this icon is tapped, it takes us to the another screen. So that's pretty much it. In the body I've got a list view builder, and for now it has got some dummy data, but very soon we are going to be adding the actual data, which is this particular list. So yeah, this list, and what we want is that each of these items to be displayed over here, and when this add button is tapped, this add button should change to the check button, check icon, and the data should be added over here. So that's something we exactly want. So let me just show you what I have in my cart. In my cart class I have my scaffold again, a app bar, and this app bar have a title of cart, and then we have a body. Body has a container. In container I have a list view.builder, and for now it also has some dummy data, but it doesn't matter, it's gonna change in a moment. So let's get started. So talking about the directory hierarchy, what I have is in my lib folder I have a main.dart, and apart from main.dart, in my lib folder I have a models directory and a screens directory. So screens directory consists of both of the UIs. So if we go to catalog.dart, it will have the UI for catalog, and if we go to cart.dart, it will have the UI for cart, and the another directory is the model. So model is where we are gonna hold the state, you can say, for our app. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so in order to get this list on this particular UI, all I have to do is, first I'm gonna cut this list from here. I'm gonna make a class. So this class is basically gonna hold the state of our catalog page. So catalog model, and I'm gonna paste it over here. So if you haven't watched my just previous video, so I would strongly suggest that you should watch that one first, and that way this video would make more sense. And if you're gonna stick, then let's begin. And apart from this list, in this particular catalog model class, I'm gonna have a method. I'm gonna name it as get item by id. So I needs to be capital, and what this is gonna do is it's gonna return a item. And what I mean by item is I'm gonna define a class just now. So for now it's gonna throw an error, I guess. Yeah, so item, and let's define a class. And what this is gonna be is it's gonna have a integer id and a string of name, the name of whatever the book is. So yeah, let's give this thing a constructor, and this is going to be a named constructor. So this dot id comma this dot name. I'm going to make these fields its final. Perfect. And now we want this get item by id to return a item. I'm going to specify the return type as item, and what it's going to return is, I'm going to use the fat arrow syntax. So it's going to return a item, and for id I'm going to pass in id, and for name I'm going to pass in item names id. I guess this should work, and it shows some error. Let's see why. Okay, so I'm sorry, this is not gonna take item, it's gonna take integer ID because this method says get item by ID, so we are gonna need a ID to return an item. Perfect. So item names is the list which I have, and I've defined a class item. Also I've defined a function which returns a item. So what I'm gonna do is go to the catalog model. I'm gonna import the provider package over here first, this one, and this is something which comes from a previous video. If you haven't watched, I suggest you to watch it. So var, I'm gonna give a catalog and catalog model. I'm sorry, not catalog model, it should be provider dot off. So I'll explain in a moment what I'm doing. And over here I'll have a type. So basically over here what I have done is let me just import the classes. Okay, so this cannot be here, this needs to be inside the build function over here, because here we have access to the context. So I have just made an instance of this catalog model class over here. So instead of this var, I can give a catalog model and it would work exactly same. So I hope you got the idea. And the next thing is gonna be here in this list style, we have a title field, and this title is gonna be catalog dot get item by ID. So we are gonna pass in index and each item's dot name. Perfect. When we'll restart, okay, so this is gonna throw error, and it threw an error because we need to wrap this particular my app widget in a widget called as, you can say, a provider. So I'm gonna wrap this inside a multi-provider over here. And multi-provider is nothing, it's just a second. Multi-provider is nothing, it's just lets you to use multiple providers at the same level instead of nesting them. So if let's say that if you have watched my previous video, then you must have seen I've used something sort of ChangeNotifierProvider, right? So if I have to wrap the same widget, same my app widget with some another type of provider, then I'll have to nest it inside the ChangeNotifierProvider. So multi-provider over here helps us to make a list of providers at the exact same level over here. So I'm going to use the provider widget over here, and this provider widget is going to have a create method, and this create method is going to return catalog model class. Perfect. And still it's going to throw an error because of the item count, I guess. Yep, when you swipe down, you'll see we have an error. So for that, what we can do is, okay, not over here, it's just in the list view.builder. I'm going to give an item count of catalog dot item names dot length. Yeah, perfect. So now we are error free basically. Okay, so now I'm gonna make the model class for our cart widget, this particular widget, and it also goes like we'll have to define a class cart model, and what this cart model is going to do is it's going to have a list of integers, and I'll tell you in a moment why integers. Let's first name it as item IDs, and let's initialize it like this. Okay, so basically we are going to map these integers to these this particular list, and whenever this widget will be created, all these mapped values will be displayed over here. I'll show you in a moment what I mean, and what exactly I mean is I'm going to make this item IDs as private, and I'm going to make a get method which will return us a list of items. So if you didn't notice, it has automatically imported the catalog model because that's where I have made the class item, and I'm using it in my cart model class. So I'm going to name this get method as, let's say, items, and it's going to return just look at the syntax for now, I'll explain it in a moment. Item IDs dot map, and let's index. Bear with me a bit, just a moment. Catalog model. I have created an instance of the catalog model class, and from there I'm going to get access to the list. So catalog model dot get item by ID, and exactly. So basically what I've done is I've made the instance of this catalog model class which we have made, and this getter functions are nothing, it's just that they return some value. So this getter function is they are used for simplicity, I can say, and this getter is items has been used over here to return us a list. And how am I getting access to this particular list? So I have made a catalog model, and I'm using this item of IDs. I'm using this list of IDs. I'm using the map function, and this map function is gonna map all the indexes which we pass to this particular list. So let's say that you save 1 in this index, so it's gonna return Shiva Trilogy by Amish. If you say 2, it's going to return Sita by Amish, and if you say 3, it's going to return Concept of Physics by H.C. Verma, and it goes on like that. So it hasn't exactly been converted to list. For that we'll have to use the toList method. So now this thing is going to return us a list whenever called. The next thing I'm going to do is we'll have to somehow add the items to this thing also, right? This particular list also. So for that I'm going to make a method with name as add items, and it's gonna take in a integer ID, or let's say a item, and we're gonna rip off the ID of this item and add it to this particular list. So it goes like okay, item IDs dot add, and I'm gonna give item dot ID. So this way IDs can be added to this list. Also I'm gonna make a getter method just in case for that particular list, or should I just make it public? Yeah, I'm gonna make it public. So that's for simplicity. Okay, so now let's reload, and I'm gonna go to my main.dart, and over here I'm gonna write a bit of syntax. Okay, and I'll explain it in a moment. I'm gonna write I'm gonna use the ChangeNotifierProxyProvider, because as I told you in the beginning, the state of the cart widget is depending upon the state of catalog widget. So whenever this type of condition occurs, we need to use ChangeNotifierProxyProvider. It takes in 2 things. One is the create method, and I'm gonna give a create method like this, cart model, and next thing it takes is update method. So let's give it like this, and I'll explain it in a moment, like in fact just now. So let me just complete it. Okay, so catalog, and next thing is gonna be cart, and what this is gonna do is it's gonna, okay, so I forgot something. Whenever this add button is pressed, we'll have to update the value of this particular catalog model, and for that we'll have to make a function over here. Let's say update catalog, and it's gonna pass in another catalog model. Let's say new catalog, and I'm gonna directly assign catalog model equals to new catalog, like this. Perfect. And now we are going to use this thing over here. So what exactly I mean is, I'll show you. I've got the update criteria, and one more thing I forgot. As this thing is going to change its state, so it needs to notify its listeners, so it should extend change notifier, and also this add item should have a notify listener method, so that everyone who has subscribed to this particular thing, it should be notify listener. So whoever has subscribed to this particular cart model, they will be notified whenever an item is added. Alright. Okay, so now let's talk about this particular update parameter and how does it works. So the very first thing is the context. The very first parameter is the context. The second thing is an instance of the new catalog model which has been updated. Let's say you pressed add button, so the new catalog model which has been generated will be received over here, and this cart is just a instance of this cart model. So using this thing, we are going to update this catalog model of ours, and it's going to go like, we are going to invoke this particular function which we just defined, and what we can do is this thing. Okay, we got an error, no worries. So we are going to invoking the update catalog, I guess that's the name. Yeah, exactly, update catalog, and we're passing in the catalog which we just received, and then we are returning this particular cart. So for this thing to work, we'll have to define, like you can say, two classes. We like this is the generic which we have to give to, for the Dart to know which class is depending on the another class. So basically it goes like the first class which we give over here, like this catalog model is gonna depend upon I'm sorry, the cart model is gonna depend on the model. So cart model is gonna depend upon catalog model, exactly like that. And okay, so it's not like that, it's gonna be reverse. I'm sorry, my fault. Yep. So basically the second class which you pass is going to depend upon the first class. So what we're seeing over here is cart model is going to depend upon the catalog model, and I get confused over here sometimes. So yeah, now we are set up over here. Now let's go to our cart. Okay, so we still have to work over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a instance of model cart like this using the provider dot off. Okay, so I haven't imported the provider yet, so let's import the provider dot off, and I'm gonna give it cart model like this. Let's import the cart model class. Yep, so we are out of errors. What I'm gonna do over here is I'm gonna use this cart variable which we have defined, the cart variable which we have defined, and I'm gonna use the particular getter which we defined over here, the items getter, like this cart dot items dot I'm sorry, I'll have to do the index dot name. So let's rebuild this thing once, and then we're gonna work upon adding this thing like add function. So let's go to our catalog.dart and enable this function. What we want over here is, first thing we'll have to do is to define a cart model over there also. So I'm just going to copy this code. I'm going to import the library, and next thing I'm going to do is use the cart instance which we have created to add item, and item is going to be, let's say, we'll have to use the catalog model which we have just defined like this. So what we can do over here is we can define an item to be equal to, I'm sorry, catalog dot get item by ID and index. So this is going to give us an item at a particular index in this list, and we're going to pass this item over here, and let's see if it works. Let's restart it, and yeah, we have enabled our add button. Let's go to this list first. Okay, so we got an error. Let's see what is it about. Okay, so we are getting this error, and the reason I think we are getting this error is because this cart.dart, we have hard-coded this value as 10. Instead, what we need to do is we need to get the exact length of the item IDs list which we have in the cart.model class. So this will give us the length, and let's now reload it. So yeah, it works. And also you can see if I tap any of the item, it's gonna add to this list. But there's one issue with this list, and that is if I add an item once again, it gets added, and that's not what I want. What I want is an item should be added at most once, right? So before I make that thing, I want to point out something, and that is these two syntaxes are exactly same, and our code can be simplified by giving a item.name over here instead of the whole ugly thing. And now I'm gonna make a if statement on onPressed method. It goes like if cart dot item IDs dot contains, let's say item dot ID. And what I mean is whichever item is being tabbed over here, if its ID is being contained by the cart dot item IDs, that means this particular list which we have just initialized. If it contains, I'm gonna take its negation. That means if it doesn't contains, then I want it to add the item to the list. So let's reload it and let's see if it works. I guess it should work. I tapped it once and it got added. Let me tap it once again. Okay, so it works. It's not being added upon being tapped multiple times. Now the only thing we need to do is to add that facility of changing the icons, and you can see I'm tapping it and it's not being added just because of this if condition. So now what I'm gonna do is on this child property of this list style, I'm gonna cut it from here and I'm gonna make it give it a condition. Let's say the same condition which we have given over here. This thing I'm gonna copy it and I'm gonna paste it over here. I'm gonna use ternary operator like this. If it contains, if it doesn't contains, then I want a text which says add, and if it does, then I want a icon and icons dot check. Let's see if it works. So it has restarted. Okay, yeah, it works pretty perfectly. And yeah, so the items have been added over here. It's changing to check but icon. The add button is changing to the check icon. So that's exactly what we want to build. So once again, again a briefing. The very important thing over here is this ChangeNotifierProxyProvider. What it means is the catalog model class is something which is changing, and the cart model depends upon the catalog model class. So yeah, you can read it like the cart model is depending upon the catalog model, and this particular widget needs two parameters. One is create and another is update. So create, what it's going to do is it's going to create this cart model, and update is going to update the cart model according to the changes in catalog model, like the latest instance of catalog model. Yeah, that's what I would say it. And we're using this function from cart.updateCatalog, which we have over here in the cart.model class, to update the personal copy of catalog held by the cart.model, and then it's pretty easy, I guess. So that's the major part which you need to understand. So yeah, thank you for watching, and if you like the video, please like, share and subscribe, and yeah, see you people in next video. Till then, goodbye.